Let's talk about Adrien Broner versus John Molina. And Broner looked good, but T-Street, I've got to say this, right? On my Twitter, I saw a few comments coming through on my Twitter saying that this fight is fixed. Now, I'm not saying this fight is fixed. On hindsight, I think it is a bit of a far-fetched idea, like, once I've kicked it back and looked at it. But there were a lot of people that said that this fight is fixed, and I put on my Twitter, favourite if you think this fight is fixed, and I did get quite a few people favouring the tweet saying, basically saying that they thought that this fight was fixed. So there is quite a few people that felt that the Adrien Broner versus John Molina fight was fixed. But, I mean, you look at John Molina, you look at his fight against Humberto Soto, you look at that fight, and then, we have seen glimpses of John Molina kind of fight like that. I mean, what's your opinion on this?
The same as well. A lot of people on my social media were talking about the fight was fixed as well. And then I look at the jabs. I look at, Adrien Broner was neutralizing John Molina from getting on the inside, because if I'm correct, Adrien Broner landed well over 40%, if not 48% of his jabs, if I'm correct. And he landed over 100 of them. But I can understand how fans can say it was fixed when John Molina only landed 54 punches and only threw, if I'm correct, somewhere around 220 punches. In a 12-round fight, I can understand that. But at the same time, I do agree that it is far-fetched. But if it was fixed, which I highly doubt, it was pretty obvious, I guess. So I just look at it like this. I just look at on the grand stage, and remember, fighting on national television in the United States. I can understand for the people who are not in the United States, but if you're, for example, imagine Cole Frampton, he fought on ITV. Or, if you get Amir Khan fighting on BBC or something like that. That's almost the equivalent, if not the equivalent, to what I mean is that maybe John Molina froze under the lights. I understand he's fought in the MGM Grand Arena before, but at the same time, on the premiere of PBC or the NBC, some guys fold under the lights. It's been known. I had a good week when I hung out with Steve Cunningham at a media workout earlier this week in Philadelphia, where he was talking about the same situation, how fighters fold under the lights, and he wanted to see how the new PBC or the new NBC PBC deal was, because he's a former fighter he's a fighter that used to fight formerly on NBC, and he was saying, that a lot of guys, when they get to that level or they get to something of a grand stage like that, they somewhat fold, and basically that's pretty much what I think it is. The fight being fixed, nah, I don't think so at all. But as far as Adrien Broner, he put on a good, solid boxing performance. Yes, he didn't get the knockout, but as far as a boxing match is concerned, he did what he's supposed to do. And John Molina was consistently trying to land one punch, which was the right hand, and he's always been pretty much known to be a one-handed puncher. And this is a guy who got stopped in 20 seconds or something like that by Antonio DeMarco, who Adrien Broner knocked out.
I expect that this is going to be easy work for Adrien Broner, but the way I expected this fight to go was John Molina pushing it, not landing anything. And I said that John Molina is going to abandon his jab. I said that very specifically, and he did abandon his jab. But did I expect John Molina to throw a little bit more? Did I expect him to be a little bit busy? I mean, I was immediately after Sky Sports 1 in the UK, I was flicking through the channel and I saw Tommy Coyle. And I mean, Tommy Coyle, right, he is what he is, but I mean, he was throwing punches. I mean, you look at local British fighters, you look at low-level American fighters, they at least throw a jab and cut off the ring and do something. I mean, where was the work rate? I mean, it was like he was a journeyman, like a total journeyman who had like 50 to 100 losses. There was no jab, there was no cutting off the ring.
There was nothing there. It was nothing.
Yeah, and I was really surprised by that, and that's why I'm thinking to myself, and I even thought this thing up of this fight being fixed, is that how can you not throw any punches in a fight like that? I mean, I know it's a big fight, but I mean, come on, I mean, at least try, do something, throw more punches. I mean, he was like, he fought like a guy who's got 300 losses on his record.
And the thing is, he's a live underdog. He had a chance to win, and one of the ways he had a chance to win is because of his work rate. And it's just, I don't know what that was. Maybe we'll hear a report in the next couple of days saying that, he had to be rushed to the hospital because he was dehydrated, like Thurman or something. I don't know what that was, but to be perfectly honest with you, for him to be a premier boxing champion, that's not good for national television. That's not good. That's not good for TV at all. So, whatever was going on with that, they got to fix that situation ASAP. But basically, we are definitely getting low on time. So basically, what are your final thoughts? You want to talk about the event, as far as the broadcast?
Let's just quickly, before we talk about the event, let's just quickly touch upon Adrien Broner as a fighter. What do you think's next for Adrien Broner? Because Adrien Broner did look good, but we can't really take much off that fight because he was facing, let's face it, a punching bag who was, just not doing anything, not really fighting back. What's next for Adrien Broner, and what's his future looking like at the 140-pound division?
Well, if I'm correct, he's moved up the WBC rankings to the point where he should be fighting in a WBC, or definitely the WBC, if not the WBC, maybe the WBA or the IBF 140-pound rankings. So he's definitely getting in line for a shot at Danny Garcia's titles. That's that, or Lamont Peterson. So, one of those guys, if one of those guys stays at 140 pounds, he's going to be fighting one of them. But also, if you look at the fact that, he had some issues making him 140 pounds. Now, he missed weight. He did drop that 1 pound 2 hours, or so after the initial weigh-in, but still, fans watching him and following him and him being a public figure and on social media and everything, we see that he doesn't take care of his body well outside of or in between fights. So you're thinking him dropping all that weight down to 140 pounds, you're thinking, well, if John Molina did outwork him, and did push Adrien Broner to the limit, how much would he have in the tank if he fought a guy like Marcos Maidana again, having to cut all that weight like that, even though if he fought Maidana, it would be at 147 pounds. So, there's a lot of different questions on if staying at 140 is healthy for him, and the fact that, looking at a controversial end of things, it's like, well, John Molina, what if John Molina was taking it easy on him? Let's just say hypothetically, what if John Molina was taking it easy on it because Adrien Broner missed weight and John Molina knew, I'm not getting involved in conspiracies right now, like I said, or like we said, it would be far-fetched, but still, what would be next for him? It's all about if 140 pounds is healthy for him. But as it stands right now, he's getting very close to a title shot.
You see, the thing is, for me, I don't think Adrien Broner belongs at 147 because, he hasn't got the muscle mass to fight at 147. I think if he adds any weight on, it's just going to be body fat added on. If you look at Adrien Broner in the low weight classes, he's a 135-pound fighter still. I think that he can cut more weight. I think he needs to diet better. People don't realize, but when you're cutting weight and you're losing body fat, it's 80% diet, 20% training. If your diet is on check, you're gonna lose that body fat. It's so vital. And then the 20-30% is from training. You can have a bad training session, but you cannot have a bad diet. And I think that's the problem with Adrien Broner. But definitely, I think Adrien Broner he belongs at 140. He can't fight at 147. I don't think he hasn't got the mass to fight at 140. Look at Keith Thurman, how much muscle mass the guy has. Then you look at someone like Adrien Broner. He would get annihilated in this 147 division. What happens if he fights a Keith Thurman and Amir Khan and Marcos Maidana in a rematch? He fights there's so many fighters at 147. Bradley, even Daniel Alexander. Danny Garcia's got the frame to move up to 147, but Broner, 140 fighter, definitely think he needs to win the title at 140, and I think he can do. But let's leave Broner for the time being. Let's just quickly touch upon PBC, NBC, and we'll wrap this video up. But my criticism of PBC and NBC is the same as what most people are going to say, and I don't know what you're going to say, TstreeT, but I wasn't happy with it. There was a few things I noticed, but this is the early stages. I do think Haymon's going to make improvements. Give him time. Give him 3-4 events. Let's see how it'll take a little bit of time, but I do think he will notch these things up and tighten it up. Firstly, I wasn't a fan of the lighting. It was too monotone. There was one brightness throughout. There was no focus, no spotlight on the fighter. There was no entourage. It didn't feel like a boxing event when a person comes in with their trainer, with an entourage, with their cut man and with the whole team, and they're going in for a war. It didn't feel like that. I felt that the camera angles, I was expecting a 360-degree angle camera, which Premier Boxing Champions wrote in their news section of their website. That wasn't there. I didn't see anything like that. I saw a few amateur shots where the camera was falling down. Not a fan of that. But definitely, I think that if they change up the lighting and a few little things, it felt like a bit of a reality show to me. It didn't feel like a boxing event. It felt a little bit like it was a fake event. It just didn't feel real to me. I mean, what's your take on the production of Premier Boxing Champions?
I did not like the way they handled the entrances. Yes, they did alienate away from what boxing is known to be, you know, with those trainers, you know, with those gritty street guy trainers. It did feel, you know, like you said, reality TV-ish, WWE pro wrestling-ish, but also it is like a series. But yeah, you know, there is still much room for improvement, but they got to bring back the entrances. I understand that it's on national television. I understand that you can't have the cursing and all that type of stuff, but censor out the music. I mean, censor it out. You know, make sure you have the music, entrance music beforehand, but, you know, have the ring walks. You know, you got to get that back. And also, you know, looking at the lighting and everything, it was high profile. The foundation of everything is there, but it just did look like the presentation. It just looked fake. It looked like a glorified boxing event, you know, like to an extent. And then when you were looking at the Adrien Broner fight and the fact that the fight wasn't very exciting, you were starting to look at other things like the production of things, you know, to take your to help, you know, basically entertain yourself about the event. But yeah, there's some things, definitely a lot of things, in my opinion, that definitely can be fixed. They need to get it. I understand that you're on national television, but you need to get it a little more grittier. I was saying this about their shows. They're equivalent to HBO 24/7 and All Access. It's called Corner to Corner and Lights Out. I understand all the stuff is new, but don't change boxing too much. You know, my biggest gripe is bring back the entrances. You know, let the boxers have their individual entrances, you know, so they can be the electric in the arena. Like, even if you glorify that to the point where, you know how the Klitschko's, they come out to those, you know, like those crazy graphic shows. Even if you have something like that, still, you know, give it back to the boxers. You know, make like, you know, I don't want to see them coming out down this little aisle, out of this little area, you know, by themselves. You know, and I understand I'm ranting a little bit, but that's basically my final thoughts on it.
Yeah, I've got to agree mostly. I think I didn't mind that aisle thing so much. I think it was more like I understand, like, I think Al Haymon must have seen Carl Froch versus George Groves too, and he must have seen the way Carl Froch and George Groves went onto that podium and did a bit of shadow boxing, and he must have got something from that. But the way that they did it, it just didn't come out like the way they wanted it to. I think that what they needed was a few extra effects, like a bit of flames coming out, or a little bit of sparkles, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of lasers, a little bit of lighting effects. I mean, it was so basic and monotone. And then over here in the UK, we couldn't even really hear the music. And then also the Adrien Broner interview over here on Box Nation, we didn't hear it. I didn't hear an Adrien Broner interview. It was muted. So these things are definitely, for me, I've got to say it like it is, PBC failed on its debut.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Please, guys, be sure to subscribe to both channels. Right there, the first link in my description box says it's to Be Real TV. Also, please visit realcombatmedia.com. I'm TstreeT Controversy. I cover every single major fight live, along with Be Real TV. This is TstreeT Controversy, TstreeT Controversy Live.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to both channels, Be Real TV and TstreeT Controversy Live. Loads of videos coming soon.